Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, everyone. You're listening to Blog Talk Radio, Ascended Radio, and this is your host, Jessica Spencer. I want to welcome you to the show. Thank you for listening on this Wednesday, August 15th. I want you to know that, just as I mentioned in the last show, we have an incredible guest today, Suzanne Lie. She is just a wonderful multidimensional counselor. She's assisted me so much in my journey. I came across her work, and she is phenomenal. She is a psychotherapist. She is a multidimensional counselor. She is a spiritual psychotherapist, meditation trainer, expansion consciousness teacher. She assists you in integrating your multidimensional self. She's a relationship counselor. You name it, she does it. When I first listened to Suzanne Lie, she just blew my mind. She is an incredible, I call her also a master teacher, and I'm so grateful to have you on the show, Suzanne.
Thank you.
Hi, how are you?
I just snuck right in under the wire, didn't I? But here I'm hearing all these accolades about myself, so that was good.
Really, I just want to thank you because, you know, I spoke with you and I told you that when I came across your website and I think I heard an interview with you, you just blew me away. I sent everything I could find on you to everyone I could find. I think I've listened to every YouTube podcast. I subscribed to your newsletter. You helped explain, you know, the multi-dimensions to me, and I've mentioned you on the show at least 3 times and use you as a reference so that people can go to your website and learn more about the multidimensional universe and themselves. So I'm so excited to have you on the show and grateful that I'm able to speak with you.
Yes, I'm very excited to be here too.
I am glad. So I know one of the first things I want to talk to you about, because one of the things that struck me, and I feel, you know, I'm kind of still growing through this myself and just taking a leap with this show, is that you're a therapist, a family therapist by profession, right?
Uh-huh.
And I know you kind of had to come out of the spiritual closet, is what they're calling it, and kind
after
of
quite a few years.
Right. And, you know, and integrate your physical world self, who's this, you know, accomplished family therapist, into your spiritual teachings. And I just wanted to get into a little of that and how you found yourself on this path.
Oh, okay. Well, fortunately, I'm not just a family therapist. Not that that's bad. It's just that my PhD was in clinical psychology. So that, and I was in this marvelous program that the universe hooked up for me. It was absolutely not my idea. I was bored with being an audiologist. I just wanted a class. Before I knew it, I was in this program. And it was all these wonderful alternative methods. And you had like a one-on-one professor. And I was able to go really deep into things. And I always wanted to go very deeply. Before I was an audiologist, and they would talk about anatomy and physiology, and they would go central. I didn't know what that meant. I really wanted to know how the brain worked, because for some reason I felt like that was really important, how the brain worked. Didn't know that we would be changing operating systems from third-dimensional thinking to multidimensional thinking. That was a long time ago. But let me see. One of the things that, I always was talking to unseen beings when I was a little kid. I was the one that was talking to the person quietly, privately. I figured out really soon that really wasn't good for everyone to know. And I was lonely and sad and depressed and all that hysterical teenage stuff. And I would actually feel this being put its arm around me and walk me home. And so I always had a connection with the unknown. Maybe it's because when I was like 6 weeks old, I had a death experience and came back. So maybe I forgot to forget. That's what I say. I forgot to forget. But as one of my homework assignments for my educational program is that I had to start writing a journal. And when I started writing the journal, that was the beginning of the beginning. First, I just wrote everything that was there. But since I was used to talking to unseen beings, I thought, well, I might as well write a letter to unseen beings. And so I would start my journals, not the teacher saw this part, but I would start my journal with Dear One, and then I would do complain, crab, my life is terrible, kids are bugging me, etc. And then I would just write for a second, and then it would say, Dear Suzelle. Started calling me Suzelle really early on. And I would get this information. Now, I knew this was not my mundane brain, because this is very unique information. And I guess I did that from, let me see, I graduated from school in 84, so I probably started that journaling in like 82, and by 92, it had changed my life massively. And I found that, I had finished and I got my degree and got my license, and the audiology, which was a good profession, but it wasn't creative enough for me. And I drove all over Los Angeles. And then that kind of fell apart. In fact, I had a dream, and in the dream I was in the woods someplace, and these big, 3 tall, huge beings, which are probably Arcturians, put down this map in front of me and said, this is your assignment. Are you willing? And I said, yes, I take it. Okay, well, then the next day I got fired from my audiology job, and I thought, okay, well, that makes sense. So I was like, okay, cool. Then I wasn't scared because I knew, I was scared, but I had this other thing going on. And the main thing is, even though I didn't have much money at all, I had time. And I was only doing creative things, and so that allowed me to be even more creative. So I just kept writing, and then probably around the first part, maybe 93 or something like that, the Arcturians started coming in. Maybe it was before that. And they told me to do a website. I actually did a website early on when people barely had I had those old computers with a little screen with the yellow writing and the, DOS and all that stuff. And I had a website. Someone in University of Montana or something really remote was doing a study to see whether or not, a website would sell. You could sell information on a website. Of course, they decided that, no, you can't, but they were a little wrong in their assessment. But that was my first little journey, and I did that for a bit. And I wrote about my journey through the portal, and it was really interesting because at that time of the journey through the portal, was it Hal Bob where those people killed themselves? I'm not sure which one. Anyhow, that was the same thing that happened. So that was someone, or he emailed me and said, oh, so that portal. But, like with any creative thing, you have to just keep on trying. And I tried a million different ways to be able to afford to do it. And finally, I just gave it all up. And I just let the universe take me where it took me. And it took me on a beautiful ride.
So for our listeners who are not familiar with the Arcturians or portals, can you give us a brief, description of what Arcturians are? I know that's it's hard to do it briefly, but what are Arcturians?
Well, let me start with the portal first, because that's a little more grounded than the Arcturians. A portal is an opening, and so a door is a portal. Many things are portals. But we were talking, and I was talking about interdimensional portals, because to me it wasn't an unusual thing. I had many experiences where I talked to people on the other side, and then something happened where I got proof that what I was told from the other side was indeed from this person, was correct. No one else told me. I really did talk to somebody on the other side. But I didn't want to be a medium. I didn't want to be a psychic. I didn't want any of that kind of responsibility. That wasn't quite my path. And that's the whole thing. We have to really be true to ourselves, that there is no good path, bad path. It's just our path. And we're only going to be excellent at ourselves. And so I just kept searching. And the one thing I knew is that I love to write, I love to make poems, I love to make pictures. That's what I love to do. So the website was perfect for me. But a portal is basically a wormhole, which it's an interdimensional where you can go from like the third dimension to the fourth to the fifth. And so that's what a portal is. And the Arcturians, they are among the galactics. There are some very high energy beings that are helping us. Basically, the categories are the Ascended Masters, the Celestials, and the Galactics. And the Ascended Masters are human beings, and they have gone through many lives and many services, and they have ascended their energy into the higher fourth and fifth dimension. You might have heard of Saint Germain or El Moria or Kutumi, Sana Kamara. These are all Ascended Masters. Then there are the Celestials, and these are angels. We all know what angels. Elohim, we may not know what Elohim are, except they're in the Bible all the time. And Elohim is a holder of form, like the beings that hold the form of a tree or the form of a mountain. And then the Galactics are the other members of our galaxy and some beyond our galaxy that are, some of them are already ascended into the fifth dimension and beyond. Some are looking pretty human, but they're were more evolved than us. So if you think of the Star Trek series, the Roddenberry one, that was pretty true. All of that exists. It didn't exist on our planet. But all these different beings have been around our planet for a long time. And history goes back much, much further than we think. And many of them had their time that they stayed on the planet. And they made a lot of the same mistakes that we've made. And so now that the planet is really needing their assistance, our assistance, they've come to help us and the planet. And the Arcturians, I talk a lot about the Arcturian corridor, which is in fact a portal, interdimensional portal. Different galactic groups, like different groups on the physical plane, have different services that they give. And the Arcturians, their service, they're one of the most evolved of all the galactics because they ascended long, long, long ago. And they help people go through the Arcturian corridor. So when people are in a higher frequency of reality, they help them, you go through the portal to step down to your energy to live on a physical planet. And then when you die to the fourth dimension, you go through that. Or if you ascend beyond that, you go through the corridor. And the Arcturians are very evolved. The ones I communicate with are beyond form, the group mind, but they can take on a form, and they often do. So do you have questions about, did I totally lose you?
No, because I've listened to you so many times. I just wanted to kind of introduce that aspect of ascension to the audience, because when I started going through my process, I felt, it may be something that we're awakening to, our entire lives, or we can possibly, I guess, awaken to our entire lives. But recently, this year, I actually got sick. I guess you could say it was a stomach virus or flu. I didn't have any, I was weak, and I couldn't hold any food down. But now I see that it's related to the energies that are coming into the planet.
Yeah.
And, I believed that there had to be other beings and I would always say with my dad when I was younger that just because our lung capacities can't, withstand another atmosphere, it doesn't mean that other beings can't. And when I was sick, I had, a dream, you could say. It was very vivid, of a woman who looked very human. She looked very similar to me. And she just told me, a story, or told me who I was, let's say, about, let's say my DNA. And, I knew that it was real. I'd never had an experience like that. And, she talked to me about, different things that you can mend with your mind. And it sounds so far-fetched, and I know some of the audience members are going to be like, wow.
That doesn't sound far-fetched to me at all.
Well, not you, but it happened. It happened to me. And before that happened, I didn't understand how real it was, and I just had never had such a vivid, and I can't even say it was a dream. It was almost like I just was in a different dimension. It was very clear. There were no, interruptions. My entire family was there in this when this incident occurred, and I just knew, like, okay, this is real, and I'm ready to receive it, without fear. This information that's coming in, So yeah, I think that's why I wanted to have you on too, because I think it's because as time is speeding up, so. It's great for people to be able to hear that information so that they are without fear, and just remaining open, whether they can sit with that or not, but just remaining open to the fact that we are energy and that we are in a realm and world of infinite possibilities,
Yes, there's two antidotes to fear: information and love. So information is one of the best ways to counteract fear, because fear is very often based on ignorance, and our greatest fear is fear of the unknown. So if we don't know what's going on, we'll be frightened. But if we know exactly what's going on and we realize that it's this beautiful, amazing, most magnificent thing that could happen, then we're not afraid. I mean, we might be afraid about some things, but it's very controllable.
Right.
More containable fear.
I totally agree. And, just recognizing, that we are, so many things that we hear, whether it's in religion or whatever belief system or none at all, we always hear kind of the same thing, that we are one, that God is love. So, there really is just getting connected with that oneness within ourselves. And once you do that, for me, I understood how connected I was to the all. And
right.
So if you can see yourself in other people, in other things, in other energies, vibrating at different levels, sometimes faster, sometimes slower, I feel that you can really kind of understand, what it is that we're doing here, at least on that minute, level.
Yes, I remember a long time ago I read this short story by Manly Hall, and I don't know if anyone's heard of him, but he was a very famous metaphysician. And it was about this seeker who was looking for the face of God. And he looked, and he, climbed the mountain and went to the peaks and went to this teacher and that teacher and looked for the face of God and looked for the face of God and could not find the face of God anywhere. And then he had this moment of realization. The flash of light came through him, and he opened his eyes, and he saw the face of God in the rocks, in the trees, in the ground, in the leaves, in the sky, in himself. And that's really what it is. When we awaken, we move into a unity consciousness. And we realize that spirit is within us. And I don't use the word God because it has such a religious connotation, and I don't want to put it in that kind of a box because it's more encompassing than any one particular religion. It is the spirit of all, and once that ignites within ourselves, then it reflects back to us everywhere we look. But of course, we don't always walk around every minute of our life in this illumined state. It would be wonderful if we did, but we all know that's not true. So I say that because I don't want people to think that they're going to awaken and then suddenly they're perfect. Oh, no. not necessarily. If you do, great. Then blessings be to you. But I've not found that to be true. And I've talked to many, many, many people. And part of that is because in the past, people have ascended. The avatars have ascended. And the beings that very often have churches named after them or religions named after them, they very likely ascended and went into the fifth dimension and beyond. And metaphysically, that's a known fact. Of course they did. But this ascension is not about a person ascending and gathering a religion about them. This ascension is about ascending the planet with us. So we're not going to fly off and leave the planet. All of our reality, this unity consciousness encompasses the planet. So since the planet is in sync with us, we're not going to say, oh, look at the planet's falling apart and I'm flying over it, because as our lives appear to be lighter, brighter, more filled with love, more illumined, more easily manifested, we look around and we see many other people and many other places, and we see that we are not alone in this process because we're all in this together. That's the beauty of it. It's a unity consciousness.
So for the audience members, I've spoken, a lot about ascension. I like to ask the guests, what exactly, and you pretty much summed it up now, but what exactly is ascension?
Well, ascension means, of course, to go up. But you are going up not in time or space. You're moving up in frequency. And right now, our physical shell is resonating to a certain frequency. And that table is a certain frequency, and that chair is a certain frequency. And that frequency is consistent with this third dimension, which is our daily life. And then the fourth dimension is our dream world. So when we go into our dreams, then very often it seems like everything is completely real. We don't even know we're in a dream. And some dreams, we're doing the same things we're doing when we're awake, and then we're exhausted when we wake up. And some dreams we're learning wonderful things, and some dreams are scary. But that's what the fourth dimension is. And when you're in the third dimension, then that's the frequency that you resonate to. So when you go into the fourth dimension, you resonate to that frequency, and you see things a little different. Their perceptions are different in different frequencies. In the third dimension, everything is hard, everything's at right angles, everything has strong boundaries, things are hard, you push things, if you bump into something, you get hurt. There's very separate, there's men, there's women, there's good, there's bad, lots of separation, lots of polarity. When you go into your dream world, it's not so much that world. Maybe you'll be a man in one life, or you'll have a different body in one life, or maybe you become a cat, or you talk to a cat. So all these imaginative things, and you'll be at one place, and then your dream will flip, and suddenly you're a completely different place. Well, that's how life is in the fourth dimension. But there is still that polarity of good and bad, and love and fear. Now, when we go into the fifth dimension, which is the dimension of ascension, the dimensions below that, that's where you live, and then you die and you stay in the fourth dimension, and there's a bunch of subplanes, and then when you're ready to go back, you take another body and you live, then you die and you go back into the fourth dimension. But when you ascend, you get out of that wheel and you move into the fifth dimension, and the fifth dimension is a completely different format. And the fifth dimension has no time. Everything is now. And because everything is now, there's no space. Because we figure that there's space because it takes that long to cross that space. And you know how in dreams you'll be here, then you're there. Well, that's the way it is in the fifth dimension. And there is no separation. You can see the energies of light that connect everyone. There's no gender. Everybody's androgynous, and they can choose to look like they're male. They can choose to look like they're female. Filled with unconditional love. There's no hierarchical systems. People are united. And it, too, has octaves. At the lowest octave, it's not as much that way. There's a little more separation. Maybe they hold male, female, gender bodies. And as you move up that frequency spectrum, it gets more and more unity, less and less attached to form, higher and higher states of consciousness. And also, once you ascend, you can travel with your mind. You travel with your consciousness. Well, we could do that now. In fact, many of us do it all the time.
So what would you say that, the only way that I can say for me that helped me to awaken was just to commit to it. I just said yes. I said yes, I'm ready, yes, without, no matter what, it looks like, I'm ready to know my connection to myself, to God, to everyone, and all that is, and I'm ready to set down whatever belief systems I held that would limit me from that. And it's almost like everything just kept flooding in, and I started to understand that, the phrase that when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And I mentioned Dr. Richard London. He's been my teacher, and then it's almost as if someone will mention on a radio show or a book that I read, yourself, or they might mention Reverend Norma, like different people, and then it's just like it just keeps going and going and going, and I just keep releasing and releasing more of that density that was solid matter, kind of in the third dimension, and that pain and regret and guilt and all of those things that we just continue to participate in these cycles. And so I just feel much lighter. What would you say, that people can do to kind of get on that path to waking up?
Well, I think you definitely made an important point that commitment is vital, because it is not easy. It is not easy to go into this process of ascension, because it's a process of becoming the master of your energy. And what that means is that you become the master of the thoughts that you allow to live in your mind and the emotions that you hold in your body and, spew out into the world. It's a path where you need to look inside yourself for your answers, and then look inside yourself again, and then look inside yourself again, and look inside yourself again. And lots of self-exploration and commitment to becoming the highest expression of yourself that you can possibly attain within this lifetime. And within this lifetime, we all have the opportunity to ascend. I'm not saying that we all will, I don't know about that, but we all do have that opportunity. And we have a whole bunch of other people that are there. So there's like this whole big river we can jump into, and the planet is pulling us along too. So, but we still have to have the commitment. And also we're transmuting our bodies into a higher frequency. And so there's a lot of alterations that need to be made in how we eat, what we eat, when we eat, when we sleep, what we exercise, how we exercise, different things for different people. And very often we will have, just like when people have an illness and they have a healing crisis. In that healing crisis, they have an immense fever, such as you did. You have an immense fever, and then you have a breakthrough. And that is a common component of the ascension process, that you're doing really great, and you feel like, wow, this is great, and then bang, you hit a wall. And that wall, this part of yourself is like, congratulations, you did all of that, but you're not done. Here's more. It's like, oh, no, I don't want to start all over again. Well, you do. And then you work on it, you move through it, and, meditate, pray, exercise, self-analyze, go on and on and on. And then very often you come to this crisis point, this healing crisis. And then recently I've heard a lot of stories from people that they were sick for like 8 weeks or couldn't work or depressed or lost everything, and then they broke through and they were awakened. And it's about, like you said, you release and then you release and you release. Because if we want to live in the unknown, which it is the unknown to us as of now, we have to let go of the known. And if we want to value ascension and unity consciousness and living in unconditional love with the One, then we need to release our attachment to, physical possessions and greed. We don't have to give up anything. We don't ever have to give up anything. But are we still okay? Is that my phone, or are we?
No, we're good.
Okay, good. We don't have to give up anything. If we choose to give it up, that's our choice. If we choose to change, that's our choice. We don't have an outside boss. We don't have outside teachers. Everything is inside of us. We have people that can assist us to find what's inside of us, but the road is not up, it's in.
Wow. Everything you said was just so profound, and it's amazing because on this journey, I thought for a long time, there has to be several different truths, and I feel that on certain levels of consciousness, it's true. But then I just started realizing that everybody that was waking up, no matter where they were in the world, no matter where they were in their life, age, gender, race, anything, it's the same thing. Release attachments, release fear, release regrets, go inward, just let go, release old belief systems. And what I've really been getting clear on recently that just hit me like a ton of bricks was, we have beings like Jesus who we study and we study and we study, but we don't ever study the path that he actually took. We don't seek to study with him. I had a show called Moving from Study to Demonstration because I feel that it's time that we act, that we're going to, we have those times where I call it going in the cocoon, where we go inward and we study, and then we come back out into the world and we demonstrate, and then we go back inward, and maybe that's when we have those breakdowns and, those healing sessions that you're talking about, and then we study, and then we go back out and we demonstrate, and you kind of get to gauge where you are, and I call it sometimes like you're going to school and you're taking these quizzes and these tests to assess where you are, and then you go back and you study and you read more, and you've reached another level and you do the same thing. And that's what I felt like for me until you release those, attachments to your old way of being. And sometimes, it can be isolating. I know for me sometimes it can be because this becomes it is who you are. It's who you naturally are. We're just, we're remembering who we are, and for, many people around us that may still be asleep, it's really kind of balancing as well, would you say?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And just,
right.
I guess, yeah.
As we get to a certain place, we feel called to give a service. We feel called to share. We've learned everything that we've learned, and now we feel like we need to share it. Yeah. And also, people have a lot of symptoms of transformation because our energy field is changing. Time is changing. Everything is changing. And so very often people have bodily symptoms or mental confusion, loss of time, et cetera, et cetera. But what I have found is if we are giving service, if we are using that energy, then it doesn't back up and confuse our bodies as much. And, there are higher and higher frequencies of light that are bombarding our planet because we're moving right in front of the galactic center, and we haven't been here for 26,000 years. So this is a frequency of energy that the planet has not been exposed to for 26,000 years. And even if you look at NASA or the more scientific things, huge sun flares, eclipses. We always have eclipses, but even more powerful. So there's lots of energetic things that are happening to our planet. And basically what happens is that the energy, hits the central sun, or it comes from the central sun, and then it hits our sun, and then it hits from our sun, and it hits our planet, and from our planet, it hits us. It goes into everything, including the animals and the plants, and so everything is evolving. We're all evolving at the same time, so it's pretty exciting.
It is. And I know we have run out of time and run a little over, but Suzanne, it has been awesome having you on. I hope that you would come on again for part 2, maybe 3, whenever you have time. I know you have a busy schedule. I'd love to have you on, and so that you can share your wisdom, and because I know I'm learning more by speaking to you, and I hope that the audience, I know that they are. So I just want to thank you for everything that you're doing, and just stepping into your truth and being here on the planet now, because I know you're assisting so many of us.
Well, thank you very much for having me, and I would love to come back and share with your collective consciousness that you've got gathered in your group, and I can feel that collective consciousness, and I send you all unconditional love, and each and every one of you can feel it in your heart.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye. Have a wonderful. Thank you so much for inviting me.
You're welcome. Talk to you soon.
All righty. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Wow, everyone. Suzanne Lie, and she is just such a phenomenal being, and there's so many of us that are awakening, and some that are awakening at different rates, which is some people are called way showers, and we have light workers, and it's not even important that we know, the definitions or the logistics of every term, but just knowing that, the basics is that we are having the opportunity to wake up to our highest selves and to wake up from the coma that we've been in that, has us be enslaved to the monetary system, to, governments, and just you can feel it within yourself. And without any, myself or Suzanne having to say, wake up, you can hear that call within yourself. And I'm just really urging all of you to listen to that call, to be and live bigger than we currently are, and to know that we never stop, expanding and growing. And, just like Suzanne stated, in every religious belief system, in most, spiritual systems, there's always beings who we admire and who we, worship, if you want to use that term, and that we look to, and who have ascended. And it's time that we actually walk that path and stop, studying their path and create our own path. And we each have our own unique gift. There should be, 7.2 billion Bibles, I've said before, and I say that just to really drive home to you the power that you all hold, and that whatever creativity you have and service that you have, it's time that we express it. It's time that we live it. It's time that we stop planning and that we really start to write those books, and we really start to, participate in, whatever activity it is that our soul is calling us for to do, and stop putting it on the back burner and exchanging it for, thoughts of past events that are no longer, that we continue to bring into our future by the mere fact that we're thinking them constantly, and really begin to be present so that we can be, divinely inspired. If we're constantly thinking of our next, move or past actions, then we're not present. And so the energy that we're trying to navigate and the miracles that we're trying to create, it's almost, if you look at it in one way, they can't find us because we're all over the place. We are energy. So stay centered and stay grounded and stay living, your highest truth. And that's what you're here to do. Again, we're not here just to wake up every day and get dressed, go to work, go to the grocery store, come home, and do it all again. There's no way that we would have been placed on this planet for just that purpose. there is a reason that we're here. We are an on purpose. We are not an accident, no matter what your parents told you. We're here for a reason, and we just should really honor that. You know, if you call it God, I call it God, the universe, you might call it Allah. I respect all of everyone's religious and belief systems, but God does encompass all things, and all energy is an emanation of the Most High God, and I just really call you forth to honor that and to put aside the constant study or, you know, the lower level thinking or action, and then because we are studying, we can carry on the illusion that we are evolving or that we are expanding, but our actions and what we're creating are not in alignment with that. Again, I just want to really let people know what's been coming through to me, again, about creating miracles is make sure that you are vibrating on the level of the miracle that you're trying to achieve. I want to give you guys a little more information about money, because this has been a really big issue, let's say, in my life, whether it's, you know, the economic system and the frustration that's going on, or student loans, or debt, or, you know, watching starving children, you know, on the television and not really understanding the disparity between that and, you know, a CEO making $118 million in 1 year. And I want to let you guys know that money in itself is neutral. And this is the information that's coming to me, and it's been coming this week very strongly. But understand that money itself is neutral. It's not good. It's not bad. It's pieces of paper, and they're no longer even backed by gold. So, and that's really what we've focused on, most of us, our whole lives. We don't focus on God, not creativity, not divine love, not our relationships to each other, but money. How are we going to get it? How are we going to keep it? Or that we lost it and now we have that regret. But money is neutral. But the things that we as humans have done with money and the meaning that we have given it has lowered its vibration. It's almost as if we've tainted its neutrality. And now we've used it to enslave people mentally, physically, spiritually. We have, you know, used it for just really lower level vibrational reasons. And you have to understand that miracles are of the spiritual realm. And again, we've talked about wisdom, and wisdom is also the spiritual realm. And so you can't create a miracle by using a tool that is of a lower level vibration. So if you want a house, if you want a car, if you, whatever it is, if you want that job, you want that soulmate, you can't, I'm using money as an example, but there's several examples, but you can't say, you know, I want this new car, you know, my car is really not getting me to work, it's not doing what I need to do, but you're really only focusing on the fact that you don't have enough money to get it. That's not going to create the miracle that you want in your life to occur, because money has become a lower level vibration. So if you want to create a miracle, you don't ask God to come down to your level of vibrational energy to fit, you know, the circumstances that you find yourself in. So it's like saying, you know, God, I want this miracle, I want this new car, but I only have $2 in my account. So even though I'm asking for this miracle, it can't be created because this is all that money is reflecting back to me. This is all that works. And God works is in such a huge way. There are no limitations to God. And I just want all of you to know that if you want whatever it is that you want or need in your life, just picture what it is that you want. Picture yourself in it. You've seen this in the movie The Secret, but we're going to go beyond that, and we're going to really vibrate at the level. So picture what you want, but vibrate on the level as if you already have it. Start picking out what it is, not based on money, but based on the ability you to manifest it based on the vibration that you are vibrating at, which is a level that God can actually assist you within, not a lower level, third dimensional existence. So I just wanted to leave you with that, and I want to thank you all for tuning in, and please call again next week. The call-in number is 347-996-3263, and I just want to thank you all, and please wake up, call in, you know, like us on Facebook, leave a comment, and I just want to leave you with the knowledge that you are a powerful being and that you are a spirit having a human experience. So tune into Ascended Radio, where we are authentically becoming our divine self.